and roll.
It's all the same.
So, for those of you who are new in the room, my name is John Wick. I design games. This seminar is about card game design, and to illustrate card game design, and not talk about it hypothetically or anything like that, let's really talk about designing a card game. And specifically, I brought with me the playtest decks for the card game that I'm designing right now called Houses the Blooded, the card game. It's based on my role-playing game, which is a sword and sorcery role-playing game where you play nobles who have power, wealth, and influence and have nothing left to do but screw with their neighbors. So it's all about romance and revenge and intrigue and spies and all that kind of stuff. In the game, in the role-playing game, there are 6 noble houses, and in the card game, there are 6 decks, 1 for each house, and you see they're all color-coded here. Now, for the game, I had certain goals. And one of those goals, when I first started designing the game, was that I wanted everything in the game to be negotiable. Because it's a game about politics. So I wanted, for example, for you to be able to say, what's your name? Tawa? Toa. It's my turn. If you pay me, you can have my turn. I want everything in the game to be negotiable. So I started designing the game that
$1.
Toa just pulled out $1. If you give me a Coke, you can have my turn. No.
If you actually need one, I will get you.
I have Coke and water.
Don't let John really push you out.
Yeah,
It's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
My job is to take care of everybody.
Oh, there you go. So I wanted everything in the game to be negotiable. So I started designing that way, and although that element influenced a lot of the game, it didn't end up that way because I found out that it was a little too haphazard. The form of the game kind of fell apart when I did that. But I kept a lot of the elements of that goal. That everything in the game revolves around negotiations. So the structure of the game works like this. Each of the players is a big high lord in one of the 6 houses. And each of you wants to become the high king. Because the Ven in the game, they have no high king. But you want to become the high king. And the way that you do that is that you earn style points during the game. Because the Ven are far less interested in substance and far more interested in style. It's not what you do, it's how you do it. That's important.
Scotland.
What's that?
Early Renaissance Scotland.
Yeah, exactly. So you got it already. So so you earn style points during the game, and then you can use style points in different ways during the game. They're the economy of the game. And the turn structure for the game came from an idea that I wanted, like I said, the game to be negotiable. So I wanted you to have to negotiate for your own resources. I wanted you to have to be able to trade for everything that you get in the game. You get nothing for free. You have to pay for everything. So I thought about it for a while and said, okay, I'm going to have a deck in front of each player. The Falcon player gets the Falcon deck. The Earl player gets the Earl deck, or the Elk player gets the Elk deck. However, and the game breaks down into 3 phases. And the first phase is the draw phase, where you draw cards. However, I was like, I don't like the idea of you just going, oh, and now I have things and now I play cards. So instead what I said was that you can draw cards, you draw 1 or 2 cards at a time. So I draw cards, then you draw cards, then you draw cards, and we go around until each of us has 5 cards in our hand. But you can't draw cards from your own deck. You can draw cards from other people's decks, from whatever deck you want, but you can't draw cards from your own deck. So at the end of the turn, so I am the fox player here, and I draw 2 cards from the wolf player, and I draw 1 card from the serpent player, and I draw 2 cards from the bear player, and now I have 5 cards in my hand, none of which are mine. So that's the end of the first phase, the draw phase. The second phase is the negotiation phase. Now, you're the Falcon player, and I'm the Fox player. And you have 2 of my cards, and I have 2 of your cards.
So we negotiate over the cards.
Do you want to trade? These are your cards. Yeah, exactly. I got $1. And some cards are more powerful than other cards. Right? This is important because it means that I have these 2 cards, but you have one of my cards that's really strong. And you're like,
so you're showing the cards, or
yeah, you're showing the cards to each other. You can trade any way you want. You can say, I have 2 cards, but I'm not going to show them to you.
Right, make it more worth it.
Yeah, make it. Or I can show these 2 cards, and I show you these 2 cards, and like, here, Mr. Falcon, I have 2 of your cards, and you show me 1 card, and I go, yeah, I got this. I'm like, oh hell, how am I going to get that card? And that means you go, well, you have 2 of my cards, and they're kind of weak, but he has another one of my cards. Get that card, but he won't give it to me. I'm like, hey, Mr. Wolf player, I have 2 of your cards. Give me that green card. I have 2 of your cards. You want to trade me? Okay, you get this. Now I give you that, and you give me this. So it becomes one of those like old MASH episodes where everybody's trading something to get something else, right?
Tomato juice.
Tomato juice. Yes. You get a style point. All right.
Somebody hit like if you remember that show.
So that's the negotiation phase where everybody is saying, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this.
Can you trade other houses' cards? Say, you know, I'm the green deck here, I want those. You trade me those cards, and I have 2 of your red, but I want that purple card.
Yes.
I know I'm gonna.
Oh yeah.
He's an enemy, and I'm gonna keep him at bay, or I'm gonna make him work for it.
Yes, exactly. You can trade for cards to make sure that your enemy doesn't get that card. It's my card. As a matter of fact, Artemis did that last night. Yeah, I did.
When does this game come out?
Oh, soon. So that's how that works. That whole negotiation phase. And then the last phase is the play phase, where you play cards.
Where you
Now,
get screwed.
where you get screwed. Yeah. Now, every player in front of him, his play area is called his domain. It's his lands that he controls. You can play any card into any other player's domain, or your domain, like any domain in the game. So, if I have one of your cards, one of the deals I can make is, look, I can't give you this card for whatever reason, but I promise you, if you play that card in my domain, I'll play this card in your domain.
So you created an alliance.
Yeah, you create alliances during the game. And so the players are playing cards in each other's domains. Some of the cards are beneficial and some of the cards are not. So for example, I have a card that costs you 3 style when I play it in your domain.
Cool. That's what I wanted.
Yeah, I know. This costs you 3 style, well not you then, you. I have a card that's going to cost you 3 style for playing your domain. What are you going to do so I do not play this card in your domain? So you can hinder people by playing harmful cards in their domain, and then blackmail them. So, hey, I got this card, I have to play it. Because that's the rule. You must play all the cards in your hand. I'm sorry, I've got to play this card, and I can only play it in your domain, and it's going to lose you style. I'm sorry. But I'm sorry, my friend, but I have to do this. Please don't reciprocate. Right? I'm sorry.
The style points, can you trade them?
Yes, you can use style points to buy cards from people or to because remember, everything is negotiable. And the winning condition is having the most style.
Or losing.
Or losing the most style. We'll get to that. So the winning condition is having the most style. So I can trade you style points, but I am putting myself further away from victory doing that. But it is the currency of the game. So I'm using style points to buy things, but that means that I'm not gaining style to win the game. But I am positioning myself in a better position so I can play the long game down the road.
Spin style mix.
Stop. That's right. So, and then there are other cards in the game that fit the theme of the game. You have allies, and you have romances that you can play that make style, and those turn into revenge because romance always turns into revenge and all that stuff. And then at the end of the turn, everybody collects all their style, and then you start again. and you draw cards, and you negotiate, and you play, and you draw cards, you negotiate. And there are a couple, over the course of the playtest, the original idea I had was that you keep playing until one deck runs out, until you can't draw from one deck anymore. And that starts the end phase of the game, the end game, where all style gains and losses are +1. So if a card says that you lose 2 style, you actually lose 3. If a card says you gain 2 style, you actually gain 3. And what happens is that suddenly those style gains and losses just start escalating really fast. Because it's the end of the game, and everyone's like, And it was funny, just by adding that element to the game, it made people focus and start adding. It's like, we're screwing around, end game, it's on. We're ready to go. And that's what I wanted. I wanted players to feel that this is the end of the game, this is the climax, this is it. And you do that by putting a mechanic in the game that says, this is the end of the game, you better start paying attention, right? So whoever has and then you play the last round, and whoever has the most style wins. But in games like this, there's an element in the game that's a common game design term, which is called kingmaking. As a matter of fact, there's an old board game called Kingmaker where this term comes from. It's a wonderful board game. Everyone should play it. You win by making someone else win. That's how Kingmaker works. So essentially what happens is, in games like this, flip your badge around again so I can see your name. Toa. Toa is clearly ahead. And everyone's like, screw that guy. He's not going to win. Jonathan's going to win. So everyone starts putting points on Jonathan so he'll win. And you're like, hey, wait a minute. I worked hard. I should win. Oh, I lost because I was ahead. Right? So I knew that king-making was going to be a part of the game. So I added it into the rules. And the way that it works right now is that the person who wins chooses someone else that they win with. So when Jonathan wins the game, he picks someone else he wins with. Which means
guy right there.
I picked that guy.
I'm sorry for him.
Which means that from as soon as you tell people that at the beginning of the game, they're already picking sides. They're already picking friends, and they're already picking enemies. Which is good. So what? Yeah.
Do you have like this is just a generic question, but I'm looking at it as like a round table kind of combat or a negotiation, like a round table negotiation. Do you have a deck that doesn't belong to somebody and out? Like, I have the red deck and I have this abilities in this deck, and do you have a universal deck, some like an outside source in the game?
Nope.
An assassin or whatever.
Nope. It's all self-contained.
Nice.
Does the game require 6 players?
No, you can play with 4 players. We played with 5 players last night, and it went quick. So I suspect with 4 players, it goes even quicker.
You should specify that this is still in playtesting.
And it's still in playtest. So even the last couple times we played over the last couple nights, there are things I'm changing already. But I'm only talking about how the game's working right now. But I will talk about one thing. For example, the rule about you play until one deck is empty. That game is really long. As a matter of fact, we played 4 hours, and that's too long. Right? I don't want to play a game that's 4 hours. If I did, that'd be fine, right? But I don't. So I'm figuring different things. I'm saying like putting a cap on it. The first person to 50 style wins. And it seemed like when we played, how long did we play it last night, Artemis? About an hour and a half?
Yeah, maybe a little more.
Yeah, so it was closer to 2
Yeah.
for 50 style, and we played 3 turns.
Well, we played 30 style.
30 style, yeah, we played 30 style, and that was 3 turns, and it was quick, and that was really good, and everyone was like, how much style you got? How much style you got? Because it was obvious that it was really easy to get to that amount. So that's why I said, okay, 30 is really easy to get to. 50, I think, is a better, because it drags the game, or doesn't drag the game out, but it makes the game at least 4 rounds, and that's a better chance to get grounded and to be able to do different things and everything like that.
Have y'all considered just doing it as a number of rounds?
Yeah,
There are 5 rounds.
Yeah, there are 5 rounds in the game, that's another way to do it.
So when you have a cap, how do you know when the end game is?
You play it until you get to that cap.
Okay.
So for example, last night we played to 25. We were trying it. We said, let's play to 25. And we found that the game lasted about 2 hours and we played 3 turns. Okay, let's play to 50.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, sure. How long will that take? Well, that turn, we haven't done it yet, but it's 2.5 hours and about 5 turns. So you just gauge it out. You play the game enough that you have a sense for, and you know this about games that you play now. You know how long it's going to take to play Battlestar Galactica. You know how long it's going to take to play, various games. Yes, there's a stretch, but you know if you sit down to play a game about how long it's going to take. And the way that you do that is you play it, right? And so when you play test, one of the things that you do is you take notes. You're like, okay, how did that work? How did that work? Did that card work the way I wanted?
4.5 hours.
Yeah, 4.5 hours. That's too long. There are cards that people were playing with last night that I looked at them and went, in the context of the game, the way I understand it now, that card needs to be changed. I need to change that card. There are cards that I wrote the rules for, and people were asking me, how does this work? I need to change the wording of that card. Because if they're asking me how this works, I didn't succeed in writing how this card works on the card. So, yeah.
From a marketing standpoint, would this be something like say Risk, where you buy it all at once, or is it more like Magic the Gathering, where you buy?
No, I'm going to. What's that?
You mean Money the Gathering?
Right.
Yeah, Money the Gathering. No, I see it as a self-contained game that you can then buy an expansion for, and I have plans for an expansion already and things like that. So anyway, that's the nuts and bolts of it. And like I said, you look at, and I also look at different decks. I'm like, is that deck doing what I want it to do? The first game that we played, Mike played Wolf deck in both games. What?
Boo first game.
Boo first game. Mike did not get what he wanted. However, in the second game, his Wolf deck was popping.
Goodness.
Duel. He was all over the board.
So the elk had something to do with it.
Yeah, and they'll catch something.
Perhaps
Are each of the different styles of card geared towards a certain strategy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
The different houses are different.
Yeah, the different houses have different character, and that character, I hope, is reflected in the cards.
Okay.
And there are cards that I looked at and went, this is not fitting. This is not fitting with the theme of the deck, with the goal of the deck. Also, by realizing that until the deck ran out, by removing that, because right now each of the decks has 30 cards. And the number of cards in the deck dictated how long the game would last. When I first designed it, each deck had 25 cards, and the game didn't last long. It went really fast. So I added 5 more cards, and then the game went to 3.5 hours, right? Just by adding 5 cards to each deck. But now, if I do it where you play 5 rounds, or you play to 50 style, or something like that, that means I can add cards to the decks without affecting the length of the game. And that was like, oh, great, because I have more ideas for cards, but I can't put them in the decks because I don't want to add to the length of the game. Every card you add, because you play until the deck's gone. So now, by having a different end game, I can start adding more cards to the decks, and the decks can be more robust and less Spartan. Because one of the things that I felt about the game is that it works, it's doing what I want it to do, but the decks don't feel very robust. They don't feel like they do different things. And so I want that in the game. And so now I can start adding that to the game. I can add, the decks can feel a little bit more three-dimensional. Because right now the decks do one thing. And that's fine, that's good, because that means you can do one, each, the wolf deck does dueling, and the elk deck does manipulation, and the falcon deck controls opportunities and things like that. But now I can add more dimensions to the decks and add player choice. And player choice is always the key to good game design. So, any other questions?
At the very beginning of the first game, I was remembering this as I was driving home last night. I could have sworn you said something along the lines of if one of your allies is in another person's domain, you would lose a style.
Yeah,
But I don't remember that ever coming up in play.
yeah, that's why I'm dropping that rule.
Okay. Well, I was just thinking. I was trying to think of. I've been trying to think of how to get to the tragic loss victory,
Yeah.
and it seems really hard. And I was like, wait a second, he said that one thing, that would make it a little bit easier. But I don't know.
I should, in case the microphone didn't pick it up, there's a rule in the game that I explained that if one of your allies is in somebody else's domain, you lose style for that because you've lost that ally. And in the course of playing the game 3 times over the course of the weekend, that rule never came up. That means I should drop that rule.
Yeah.
And because of that, because nobody used it, drop it.
Yeah.
However, there is an option in the game that if you get to -30 style, that you go out in this huge tragic burst of glory, and because the event are all about tragedy, and you win the game. You don't have to pick somebody to win the game with you.
Yes.
Yeah, and there's always that guy or that girl who goes yes whenever I say that.
It's like playing double blind, I guess.
Yeah. So from that point of view, I want to make that victory condition a little easier, but I don't want to make it too easy.
Yeah.
And so, like you said, the idea of me getting my allies and playing them into different domains.
Might be too easy.
Well, it might be. I have to try it.
I mean, right now I'm thinking play negative, the penalty on opportunities on yourself.
Yeah. Well, there's
What
only
else?
5. There's only 5 allies in each deck.
Yeah.
So at the most, you'd be able to lose 5 style per round.
Yeah.
From that.
Yeah.
However, I can get someone to put the curse on me, which makes me lose 1 style per turn. I can get opportunities and play them on myself.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, everyone is balancing the idea, they're juggling the idea. I could give her style so she doesn't win, but that means I'm not giving myself style so I can't win. And I like that. I like that that element of the game is there. Someone else also suggested that each of the decks should have its own victory condition. And I like that a lot.
Yeah.
But it's really hard to balance.
Yeah, definitely.
Because there are so many games that do that. There's a lot of games that do that. And Illuminati does it. The Dune board game does it. You guys can mention a few others that do it. But in all of those games, you know that there's one faction that has its special victory condition that's easier to get than all the others.
Yep.
And that's why it's incredibly hard to balance. It's not that, there are better game designers than me who've had a problem with that choice. And,
Well, that's where negotiating comes in. Because if you know each deck has their own victory condition, you don't want that player getting their own cards to get that.
that's exactly right. And that would add an element, a real powerful element to the game of, we have to stop the elk is about to win. But then there's the elk's ally going, no, he's gonna pick me if he wins, so screw y'all. I'm gonna help him win. So there's that. After, Artist, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was actually going to bring up the point. You already have that in the game, though. That factor of, oh crap, that guy's about to win.
Yeah.
Because everybody can see the style stacked up.
Yep.
So,
It's like, oh no, I think, what were you playing, the bear at the time? I'm really scared of this bear guy over here, and he's probably gonna pick the wolf guy, so as a fox, here's 4 romances.
Pull all their
Yeah,
allies
there
out.
goes all your allies that were giving you style.
That's cool. I'm so glad that you noticed that. Because a lot of people don't notice that if 2 allies get in a romance, you can't do anything with them.
Yeah.
They become useless. Because they're so engaged in each other that they're not helping the house anymore.
Of course, then the serpent comes from behind and wins.
Well, so and that was an element of romance that I wanted in the game, is that if one of your allies gets into romance, that's it. He's gone until that romance is over.
Yeah, I mean,
But you get
I collected
style
3 of
from
them
that
just for that purpose.
What's that?
And I collected like 3 romances, like, right for that purpose in that
Yeah.
last couple of rounds.
There's also something that I'm running around. I'm trading in my head. when I first explained the rules to people, there, in my mind, the rule was when you play a romance or a duel, you pick one of your allies and somebody else's ally. That was in my head. But that wasn't in the rules. I didn't write that in the rules. And so people started playing romances and duels on other people's allies.
Yeah.
And I went, oh, wait a minute. I like that. I like that because the men are so, mercurial. They're so, we're off in the, our own world. That yes, it makes sense that you should be able to play duels and romances on other people's allies. I like that, and so now that's going to become part of the rules. So an accident, showed, something that was going on. Another element of the game that I'm thinking about is the currently there is last night when we were playing the game, I was doing things like bribing people with style.
Yeah.
Right? And that's not in the rules. Nowhere in the rules does it say you can bribe people with style. But nowhere in the rules does it say you can't.
It's like treaties and risk.
Yeah, just like treaties and risk. And so I was doing that and I was like, this should be in the rules. It's not a rule, it's just by the way, if you want to bribe people with style, that's cool. Do it. Bribe people with style. The other thing that I saw last night that I wished I could have, because I was playing the game instead of watching people play the game, and those are two different things. Watching people play the game and playing your own game are two different things. And in playing the game, somebody had an ally in their domain that I wanted. And I was like, there is no way in the game to, well, there is a way. There's a duel that can do it.
Yeah.
But I want that ally in my domain. I can't get him. That's frustrating. So one of the rules I'm going to add to the game is that you can make negotiations for, hey, I will do X if you, as your action, move that guy to my domain.
In fact, I think I used that duel, or I know I gave that duel to Mike and said, use it on that my ally that's over in someone else's domain, and then since you can't lose, when they lose, bring them back home.
Yeah.
I love that.
That was very clever. So yeah, one of the elements I'm going to add to the game is that you can negotiate for moving any card from your domain to another domain. And you can do it. So
Who won last night, by the way? I think I left before it ended.
Art won. Yeah, Art won the game last night. He did it very well too.
Cool.
I can say authoritatively that I did not.
I went from -3 to +3 to 0.
How close were you? Because I was looking at your cards. You had like a 14 style to turn engine if you didn't flip over those planes.
Yeah. I came close, but Art was closer. The other thing that I learned about the game that I didn't anticipate was actually I just completely lost my train of thought because it's Sunday and I'm dead tired. So those of you who played the game, do you have any questions about it now or anything like that?
Say again?
Those of you who have played the game.
I definitely think that there should be a lower cap for the native, because I don't think there would be a really good way to get to -30.
I
So
think
I was playing the Serpent deck, and that was even based around getting negative points, because I saw most of those cards, and most of them were getting negative points if I was a Serpent. That would be hard.
Thank you for reminding me. One of the cards that somebody brought up on the long talk on Saturday night were tragedy cards. And I really like this idea. So the Bear Swim guys brought it up, or somebody brought it up.
Thanks, Fred.
It was me. It wasn't the Bear Swarm guys.
Are you a Bear Swim guy?
It wasn't guys. It was me.
I think it was Mike. I think it was Mike who brought
I'm pretty sure it was Mike.
It was Mike Vengeance. It was Mike Vengeance.
And essentially what a tragedy card is you play it and you lose 10 style,
Oh my.
right? But you get this super cool thing out of it, right? So, so you play a tragedy card on yourself. You lose 10 style, but you get this cool thing out of it. And if you're going for the shoot the moon victory, the big tragic ending victory, that helps you do that quicker.
The -30 would definitely be more achievable.
Yeah, then the -30 is more achievable. And the -30 is a tough balancing act because you don't want it to be too easy and you don't want it to be too hard. Right now, it's definitely too hard.
Yeah, I've been asking you about that actually the last two games I pointed that out.
Well, so if you've capped the style for the winning condition, you'll have to consider that.
Yeah, if we cap if we cap the style for the winning condition, we have to consider. We really have to play test with each game with somebody actively trying to get that victory.
I was
I know you were trying. You were trying so hard.
So with the change to capping the style, you're tossing out the whole concept of the end game with the increase,
Well,
decrease.
it's game design. Sometimes you have really good ideas that you just have to toss out. And if we do that, well, and the other thing we're talking about is having different in the rules saying if you want to play a short game, play to 25.
Yeah.
If you want to play the epic game, if you want to play the long game, play to 50. And if you want to play the epic game that's going to take you 4 hours, play this. And the end game will come to play.
You could initiate the end game at the cap and like make that the new initiate the end game
Say whatever
condition.
25, the next round is the last round.
Yeah.
That's when all the bonuses kick in.
Yeah.
Because that then gives you the same, what you were talking about earlier with the rush of people go, oh, it's the last round, well now I need to pay attention.
Yeah, so the cap initiates the end game, and then the winner is the one who has the most style, period.
Yes.
That could be
One
really
thing I
interesting.
thought of is that some of them might have an opportunity, if they wanted to spend style or play cards in a certain way, to force discards from other decks. Because you can do stuff to pull things out of discard piles, so that's not going to be that easy advantage. But if it would cost me style to do it, I'd be able to quicken the game because maybe I'm getting close to winning. So if I can see this deck has 4 cards, I'm just
That was another element of it, and Chris is talking about having a mechanic that would force people to discard to get to that no more cards in the deck ending. And that option does exist in the game in a different way. Like we were talking about where Mike had 5 cards left in his deck, and I brought up the fact that if 2 people who were plotting to win together just all draw from Mike's deck, they choose I draw 2 cards from Wolf, I draw 2 cards from Wolf, I draw 2 cards from Wolf, you've initiated the end game. And that was an element, and it was the element of the game that I wanted there for that reason.
okay.
Is that as soon as you see a deck getting low, if 2 people or if one guy is winning, he can go, hey everybody, we should draw from Mike's deck to initiate the end game. Because that, again, that's another element in negotiation. It's like, Mike's deck is low, okay, how do I convince people to draw from Mike's deck?
Well, in order to get me to help you in that, you're going to have to
Yeah.
help me out with some styles. I'd be happy to do that, but you give this to me.
Yeah,
I think the style cap will do the same thing though. Because they'll see someone
Probably
that has
will.
almost 25 style and then,
and then you count style at the end of each turn, and as soon as somebody gets 25 or 50, the end game starts.
I have a question. I just thought about this. Well, what if one person has positive 30 style and somebody has negative 30 style somehow? At the end, at the same time. How would that win resolve?
The
Fist fight.
the tragic style, the difference between the tragic ending and the regular ending or the regular victory is that as soon as you hit the negative 30 style, you win.
Okay.
But the regular victory is at the end of the turn.
Oh, okay.
But the moment you hit negative 30, you win, and it's over. It's not at the end of the turn. So that's how the timing of that works out.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
So, you've talked about adding some more cards to the decks, and you've also said that you all have ideas for expansions in the future, already brewing up in that.
Spider deck.
So,
What did you say?
I might have said Aztecs.
Aztecs.
that's what I heard too.
Ostrich, what?
Have you considered if you're going to be printing more cards for, say, the elk deck?
Yes. I have thought about that, yeah.
How is that going to change the composition of the deck that you play with?
A couple ways. One, you just add the cards. Done. And the other one is that the deck is 35 cards. There are 40 elk cards to choose from to make your 35 card deck. And what's that?
So it kind of becomes deck building.
It kind of becomes deck building, but I think that, like most game design questions that are answered by both flavor, like we were talking about, do you end the game with reaching a style bonus, or do you end the game when the deck runs out? The answer is yes, right? The answer is you can play the big epic game where the deck runs out, or you can play this, or you can play that. The same answer is If you get new elk cards, do you play with all the elk cards or some of the elk cards? And the answer is yes. You know, you can do both. The players decide, hey, let's play the epic game with with a 50 card deck. We're gonna be playing for 6 hours.
Yes.
Yeah!
Well, see, the elk play, that's what you want. You need as much time as possible.
Yeah.
Because you really want that long, deep intrigue. But the wolf just wants everyone to die. So, short game.
So in other words, it's gonna be Friday night, and Steve the elk is like, man, we should really play the long game. And everyone else is going, no!
Are there global event cards?
There aren't, but I have. Oh, actually, yes, there are. There are cards called opportunities, which you play on other people, and each opportunity has an event that affects everything in play. However, for the expansion, I'm really thinking about having something that I'm calling the Treachery deck, which is that it's cards that are in the middle of the table that players bid to draw from, and they're cards that don't belong to the houses, right? So they're like orc cards, and they're event cards like the storm shows up and things like that. And there are other things too. There are things you can play on. Now the thing about the Treachery deck is that some of the cards are absolutely useless. They're just it's like, ha, you drew a useless card, right? But they're in your hand, and you can go, hey, I have a Treachery card. What do you want to pay for it? Yeah. So, and I stole that idea from the Dune board game, which is brilliant, and everyone should play it. So, any other questions?
Have you thought about like something more with the Senate cards, like?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we talked. Mike and I were talking about Senate cards, and making, because Senate cards all the players vote on, and if everybody votes positive, then the Senate card comes into play and affects the gameplay. And the cards encourage you to vote yes, because if you vote yes, you get a style. So they encourage you to vote yes. However, it benefits one player more than the other, so you have to go, yeah. But we were talking about expanding what that means, because right now it's just yes or no, and then the effect takes place. But we're going to be expanding the Senate cards so that they have a more, I hate to say robust again, but
It's such a robust.
yeah, more options, more versions of what you can do with those kinds of cards.
Things to vote on, more ways to vote.
Yeah, more ways to vote. What was one of the examples we were thinking of?
We were thinking about doing elections, so where instead of voting yes or no, everyone points at another player, and then whoever has the most votes gets the card.
Yeah, gets the card,
So
gets
rather
a
than
title.
saying, I played this, does everyone support me? You say, we are picking someone that gets this benefit. Who do you pick
Oh,
to be
that would be
elected
That's a good idea.
seneschal?
That's a good idea.
And then that's when you start bidding style and say, you should probably vote for me. I'll give you 3 styles.
Yeah,
I'll give you 4 styles. Vote for me. And then
I was talking this morning in another seminar, and I said, or yesterday, I said, genius is not coming up with good ideas, it's recognizing good ideas no matter who comes up with them. And that is a good idea. That's definitely got to be part
so
of
what you're
it.
saying is that you're a genius.
Yes. I'm wearing a shirt that says so. It must be true.
The shirt says so.
All right, anybody else? Oh,
If you like pay with style, and can you pay with negative style? Can you like go in the negatives? Like, I'll give you the style.
No.
But okay, so it has to be. You actually.
you have to have the style to pay for it.
So it's not the American economy.
It's not the American economy, no.
Otherwise, you offer someone 30 style.
Negative 30
And
style.
then I was gonna say something about that, like, but you can't win because of that, because you know.
No, but I did notice that there were several times where people were out of style last night,
Yeah.
and they gave promissory notes.
Yes.
Yeah,
As soon as I get to style, I will give it to you if
yeah.
you do this for me now.
Yeah.
Because you can trust me.
I was glad to pay you Tuesday.
cool. So are we on time or?
It's 12:45, so.
12:45? All right. Any other last last thoughts about the game from people who played it or anything like
How'd
that?
you make the actual physical cards?
How to make the cards?
Card stock.
They're cardstock. I got really pretty cards because it's the bin. I got really pretty cardstock. The actual playtest, like layout and stuff, was done by Jessica Cospitas, who does layout for my books and things like that. And she, because I wanted there to be a picture on each card.
Yeah.
Because we had playtest before, and it was just text, and people were like, "What is that card? What is that card? What is that card?" And I was like, "Oh yeah." When we did L5R, we made sure that there was a picture on every card, so it's easy.
Playtesting L5R.
Yeah, we're playtesting L5R. We did clip art, we did pictures of the knights at the dinner table, we did, anything.
Yeah.
As long as there was, even if it doesn't match, as long as there's a picture on the card, then the player can look at the card and go, "Oh, that's a that card. Oh, that's a that card."
The icons were really good, but the text, the weight of the text and the shimmery nature of the cards made it really hard for me to read.
Yeah.
Well, plus you're in dark light.
Yeah, we were also playing in the dark.
And I have really shitty eyes.
So you're telling me this is your problem? Okay.
No, the text is
Throw it
something
here.
we're gonna fix.
Yeah.
So one thing I think, and I don't want to complicate it, but the thing that bothered me about the vote was, if you take the Senate vote, the first person who votes no, then that's going to be the villain.
We fixed that actually. What we did is we all voted at once, and that really fixed it.
Yeah.
We all voted at
The
once.
regular card size is a little bit bigger anyway.
Yeah, the regular card size is gonna be
You'll have a
bigger.
little more room, so these are playtest cards.
Oh, wasn't there like a typo on the regions? Like, is this
Yes.
flip?
There is a lot of typos.
Like
Yes.
flip, but you have.
Playtest.
I know, but I actually used it incorrectly because I know I had like a blue land when I had some other colored card deck, and I flipped it, and
Mistakes happen.
What's that?
Mistakes happen.
Mistakes happen.
Playtest.
Playtest.
John again.
John Wick.
How are you planning to finish putting this together? Hint, hint.
I'm gonna use a Kickstarter.
Is that because the Bear Swarm told you to?
Yes, it's because the Bear Swarm guys, Mike Curry, told me to.
The two mics.
The two Mikes, Mike Curry and Mike Spicy Food and Mike Vengeance on the Bear Swarm podcast, which is spelled John Wick Presents. .com. But yeah, I'm gonna Kickstarter it. The real trick of it is that I know how to design the game, and I know how to work with Jessica to lay out the cards, and I know how to contact artists to get art for it. Mauro Musi, who's been doing artwork for Wicked Fantasy, is going to be doing the artwork for the cards. I know how to do all that. What I don't know what to do is as soon as I'm done with that. I have no idea how to actually produce a card game anymore because, I haven't been part of card games in a long time. So I'm going to need to talk to a bunch of people that I know and then go, okay, so which printer do I talk to for this? And, all
Just
that.
call someone in China.
Package design.
Package design and all that, yeah. So that's it. That's the Houses of Blood and card game, and that's from conception to current edition. So thank you all for coming.
Yay!
And thank you all for playing too.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.